Alright, welcome everyone. Gonna be doing an unboxing here on some stuff that I got from Bait Finesse Empire. If you don't know who they are, they're starting up as a new tackle company that's starting in the U.S. It's gonna be focusing on a lot of JDM and also like some stuff in the U.S., but mainly like JDM as Japanese domestic market. Finesse baits that could be for trout, panfish, bass, whatever. There's really not much for an option to be able to get some like decent JDM baits, which honestly, for trout, they're absolutely awesome. I love using a bunch of JDM minnows and stuff. But anyway, outside of that, they sent me some stuff. I was messaging back and forth with them, and he was looking for some stuff like, "Hey, should I carry this, or what do you think I should carry?" And I gave him a little bit of advice back and forth, and we're discussing things. And he sent me some things to try out too. I want this to be obviously me trying out and giving feedback, but I want you guys to give feedback too. Whatever you guys feel of like some of the lures, or so there's some lures that you see over in Japan and be like, hey, that'd be sweet to have like over in the U.S. Just let me know. Comment down below. I'll make sure that Amir knows, and it's up to his consideration to be able to stock it. But he is looking for feedback from fans and also just like the fishing community in general as to what to stock. So be on the lookout for them. I'm gonna bust this thing open real quick and get to it. All right, I'll start with. Hey, there's a sticker that was in there. This is this is one thing that I would miss from. Hopefully, he continues to do this. Is the little Japanese comics or newspapers? It's kind of cool to see what's all in there. This one seems to be fishing oriented. Sometimes sometimes they got like comics or whatever in there. All right, so instead of looking at me, I'm gonna switch the camera around so you guys can look at the lures. All right, you can see kind of snapshot here as to what it was. I'll go over each thing, kind of what my thoughts on it, and kind of all that kind of good stuff. So I'll start with the line here. This is from Varivas. This is some Super Trout Advanced line. What this is for a lot of times stream fishing and trout, meaning like trout waters. For me, a lot of rocks, a lot of stumps, and all that kind of good stuff. So for here, it's nylon. That says nylon. That means monofilament, which I'm usually not a fan of monofilament, but for this, like this type of fishing, I like mono because it gives me more stretch in the streams. And with the current and rocks and everything like that, it's good to have that little bit of extra cushion. So I'll be trying that out. I'll probably do my own little review series on this. You can see there it's parallel wound, so that means it's the line's not stacked up on each other like I don't have any line by me, but it creates a more uniform line and the line's not digging into itself and kind of making nicks in it. Okay, moving on. I was actually really excited about this. I was messaging with Amir back and forth about this little frog here. This is from Jackson. They're a company that makes JDM baits. Most of them are focused on some of the smaller baits, such as that worm too. So this is a sinking like popper style frog. So it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but generally they cast further and they kind of are meant for more aggressive fishing. I'm gonna see how that goes. That thing is tiny and that should be a brook trout killer. Right here, this is actually something that I was really looking forward to. I was asking him about getting any sort of deep diving small crankbaits, and this is the best he's found so far. He's still on the lookout. This goes to 11 to 11 and a half feet. The Rapala Ultralight series has a similar size crankbait. I think those go down to about 8 feet. So this is going to be really good for those pre-spawn bluegill that like to sit off of break lines, like outside of some spawning flats. This should do really good. Those hooks look huge though, but I'm gonna have to see how big those are once I take it out of the package. This little worm thingamajig here, this is also made by Jackson. It's 3.5 centimeters, so like if you see like 35 on a package, like let's see here, like this dual right here, 50, that means it's 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters, and the S is for sinking. I do have a few of these, and I have used these quite a bit, and I really do like them. I used to always think that it was kind of a waste of money getting nicer. I mean, 990 yen, this isn't super expensive, especially for a nice JDM trout bait. But I'll show you guys the difference with the JDM trout baits versus just using say a Bass Pro Shops Cra-Pea minnow that's like that. The way it comes through current is so much better, and the lips are more durable too for smashing off rocks. If you use those Cra-Pea minnows, they could work in very light current, but not that great in a little bit like moderate to heavier current, and also the lips aren't as durable. Like the Rapala CD1, one of my favorite trout baits, but the lips break off all the time for me. This little worm here, when I was looking online to try to find some information. It seems like it almost casts like a, I mean not casts, it fishes like a spoon a little bit. I'm gonna see how that actually fishes, but it should be nice. It is a decent bait. It does have a little bit of heft to it. It's 2.7 grams, so that should be cast pretty well. There's no internal weight system, so it might flop around a little bit in the wind, but I'll figure that out when I test it. This weird little Daiwa worm. I know Raw Fishing, Jimmy over at Raw Fishing, he got one of these in like a rainbow color, and he was casting it around. I don't know how that thing's going to cast for me. I think this one might have a little bit smaller head than the one he has. I'm not quite sure. This one is 1.5 grams. Maybe it's the same one. Not sure. But segmented body like that, it should just kind of swim like a leech or a worm or something. But it's definitely a weird bait. All these baits so far, other than this duo, has actually came with a single hook too, which is nice. I plan on swapping that out with single hooks as well. There's a couple bass lures here from Imakatsu. They make some fairly innovative baits over in Japan. This is kind of like a jerk bait slash kind of like a glide bait, I guess you'd call it like that. Kind of from what I'm seeing online, it has one hook on it. It has these little fins here for kind of gliding through the water. I'm going to get some underwater shots of that to see how that fishes. Should be pretty decent finesse. I mean, you could use that for like trout too, like splake or like brown trout that live in lakes, but probably be catching a lot of bass on that this spring. And here's another topwater. This is the Dilema popper from Imakatsu. How much does this thing weigh? 4 grams. So this should be able to cast pretty good. I'll probably end up using this on that Dobbin Sierra BFS rod just to see kind of how it can handle those treble hook baits. As you can see, that was pretty quick unboxing. I didn't want to take too much of you guys' time seeing that, but that's just a little sample as to what Bait Finesse Empire is going to be carrying. I know he's getting some different plastic baits in. He just messaged me. He got a whole bunch of different, like really neat looking microplastics that would be good for like bluegill. You could get finesse bass fishing out of them, but I'm looking for trout and bluegill mainly for those baits. Kind of get your guys' opinions on some of those baits. This little frog is definitely the one that I'm most excited for. It's so tiny. 1.8 grams. It should cast pretty good. But with it being sinking, sometimes those baits are like I had what was it? The Tetra Works Poco Poco. It's a small popper, and it was a sinking version. I had to really work that fast to get action out of it. So hopefully that's not what this is. Hopefully, just kind of by how that lip looks like, it might be a surface bait, which I'm really hoping for. But that's what I'm excited for. Comment down below some JDM baits. Let's say some small topwaters like this. Like, what are some of your favorite small topwater JDM baits? And I'll be testing all this stuff out, so make sure you subscribe and comment down below what you want to see out of that.